Declassified files in relation to the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy have been released following an order from Donald Trump. Kennedy was shot by a sniper while riding in a motorcade through Dealey Plaza on 22nd November 1963 in Dallas, Texas. He was famously in a convertible limousine with his wife Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connally's wife Nellie. Shots were fired from the Texas School Book Depository building, and Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested and taken into custody. 2 days before his trial, he was killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. While some people reckon Trump's batch of JFK files were a bit of a letdown, here's what we do know from the archive material. And please let me know your thoughts down below as well in the comment section on what you thought about the information that Trump released. Were you let down by the information? What were your expectations going into this when you did hear about Trump releasing the files for JFK? Trump releases JFK files. Aimed at the countless conspiracy theories surrounding Kennedy's death, Trump has made good on his promise after releasing 1,100 files of 31,000 pages on the U.S. National Archives and Records Administration website, although the vast majority of the National Archives collection has previously been released. There may have been a second shooter. The most shocking find is the evidence which supports the long-standing theory of there being a second shooter involved. It's thought that Oswald fired 3 shots in 8.6 seconds. However, ballistic reports and testimonies in the files claim that a shot may have come from an elevated area ahead of the president's motorcade. House Select Committee on Assassinations said in 1979 there was a high probability of a second shooter based on acoustic evidence. Theories have argued that the second shooter was located on the Grizzly Knoll, which is a small sloping hill in Dealey Plaza, where Kennedy was assassinated. A memo from November 1963, which has now been declassified, has revealed how a CIA officer expressed alarm over Oswald's activities. Oswald married a Russian lady in the Soviet Union in 1961, had also visited Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City weeks before the assassination. The gunman also happened to be a former Marine who defected to the Soviet Union before returning home to Texas. According to the files, it had been suggested that higher-ups dismissed the concerns. Mafia involvement. Wiretaps transcripts show the mob discussing the need to take care of Kennedy. This comes after Michael Ferranzi, a former Mafia captain, has long suggested their involvement. If I had to take a lie detector and swear to it, what I heard my entire life from people in the know, there was definitely mob involvement, he said on Piers Morgan Uncensored. He claimed that Oswald's killer, Jack Ruby, was totally mobbed up and that he had cops on his payroll. I have now determined that the continued redaction and withholding of information from records pertaining to the assassination of John F. Kennedy is not consistent with the public interest, and the release of these records is long overdue, he said. And although no act of Congress directs the release of information pertaining to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have determined that the release of all records in the federal government's possession pertaining to each of those assassinations is also in the public interest. Now, I know a lot of people are probably like, it's been so long since the assassination of John F. Kennedy, to the point where so much has happened in the world, so why do we care? Should we actually care? Because time has moved on and the world has just gone by, in a sense. And I think the best part about conspiracy theories is that there's always going to be a new one out there somewhere. Regardless of what information gets shared or what information doesn't get shared, someone out there is always going to have a new theory in their mind about what happened to such and such and such, and then we're just back to square one again, for the most part. So I feel like there's always going to be a debate on what's true and what's not true about any sort of conspiracy theory out there. Especially when it comes to a popular figure like John F. Kennedy. Now, I've not really gone down like a rabbit hole on like true crime documentaries, podcasts, TV shows, whatever it may be, in terms of John F. Kennedy, so I don't really know much about him or his politics. Obviously, he's much before my time, and I live in obviously a different country compared to the country that he was in charge of. But I, like many, have been fascinated over what actually happened to John F. Kennedy, whether or not his killer was actually caught, whether or not there was an actual second killer, who was involved, with the mafia involved, was it a CIA cover-up, all that good stuff. That being said, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below on what you felt, on how you felt about today's episode, the topic, your feelings towards the John FK assassination, where you think these files give you any sort of new information, any new theories, whether or not you think more information will probably be put out there in the near future. Overall, let me know your feelings down below. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye bye for now.